Sorry.
You better be sorry. I was looking forward to it. Said Chris has a current event coming up. Can't wait for it. That's what I was thinking last night. Oh,
You're the reason you can sleep at night.
exactly.
I have 4 games in a row this week.
I was all worked up.
I know.
Okay, bell ringer for today. Describe the two extreme forms of politics that emerged immediately after, World War I. Describe Mussolini and Stalin's rise to power. There you go. So we talked about Stalin, talked about Mussolini, their leadership. Oh boy. And today we're moving to Hitler. We get to it. I have an activity for you, just a reading, summarizing them all together, all the dictators.
Mr. Bowman,
What's up?
if you wanted to be like the Roman Empire, what parts of the world did you plan to take over?
Huh?
You know? Like, what parts of Europe did you want to take over?
I don't know. Is this something that you have to maybe write a paper on or what?
No, I'm just
Well, I don't know. Probably get close to the sea so I can trade and expand. I don't know.
Roman Empire. I think you got most of Europe and Middle East.
Did you know you can legally have sword fights in Texas?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I never heard that before. That's interesting. You never meant to finish up. I know there's a lot to write about with this, so give you some time. Better see more than just a couple words or bullet points for your responses.
So whenever it talks about Mussolini taking over press, does that mean like he controlled what they said?
Like the press, the media? Yeah. Yep. Controlled the media, newspapers, magazines, radio broadcasts. Like as posters or billboards. Yep. All righty, so let's go over this real quick so we have enough time here. I'll let you guys work on your activity at the end of the class, and hopefully you'll have enough time for that. All right, so two extreme forms of politics. What do we have? On the far left, what do we got? Go ahead, Jakari. Communism, good job. And what dictator that we talked about yesterday has this type of government? Stalin, good work. All right, and then on the far right, who do we have? Or what kind of politics? Go ahead, Chris.
Say
Fascism. Yep, fascism, good. Extreme nationalism, okay. There is private industry, private sector, but at any moment, okay, that could be controlled by the government. Because usually with fascism, we have a totalitarian dictatorship where they have full control of all aspects of life. Okay, economics, politics, well, obviously, social life, you name it. And who was the leader that had fascism kind of created this term, coined it? Go ahead.
Benito Mussolini.
Mussolini, good job, Mussolini. All right, so I know we talked about Stalin first yesterday. Describe Stalin's reign of power. How is his power? How did he control the country here, Chris?
The 5-year plan, and anybody that those things forced in the gulags.
Good.
Slave camp.
Yep.
And culturalization. That would kind of help build railroads and roads close to Europe, so that we would have control whenever there's war trades.
Yeah, good job. So when Stalin came into power, he knew that the Soviet Union was far behind, right? They're so far behind technological wise and industrial wise compared to these other European countries. So he enforced these 5-year plans. Good job. So these 5-year plans were pushed to try to enforce industrialization and push it onto the country. Okay, so they call it forced industrialization. It just didn't come naturally like to many other countries like the United States or Germany, Great Britain. Right? This was forced onto the people. And the way he did that was through these labor camps, pushing these people to work and really just work without any type of resources, any type of military, and building up a strong military. So all the factories, all the supplies, all the goods that was created, that was going towards creating a stronger military. And did it end with just 5 years? No, it continued even longer, right? So 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, till eventually he died in 1953, right? And in some cases, I guess you could say it still carried on a bit after his reign, and as the Soviet Union was becoming a superpower at the end of World War II. All right, good. That's Mussolini. Or sorry, that's Stalin. Sorry, that's Stalin. And what were those labor camps called? Chris? Yeah, the gulags. Good job. So anybody that opposed him, anybody that had any type of political opposition to Stalin was forced into these gulags, these labor camps, to help the Soviet Union build into this dominant power. Good. And this is other ethnic groups, other cultures that was in this, that were involved in the Soviet Union. So Jews, even, right? People that had different backgrounds and cultures thrown in these labor camps. Good. All right. And then we talked about collectivization with Stalin, how the government is collecting all these lands to help build these agricultural surpluses of food and growing these different types of crops and food strictly for the military. And if there was a little bit left over, then it maybe would go to the citizens. But many of these citizens in the Soviet Union did not have, really any types of food, resources, way of life. It was all controlled and dominated by the government, communism, right? All right, then Mussolini. Describe his rise to power and his reign of power, Jakari.
He outlawed political parties,
Good.
took over the press, and created secret police.
Yeah, what were they called?
Black shirts.
The black shirts. Yep, good job. The black shirts. Good. So with Mussolini in Italy, okay, Italy was going through a lot of problems at the end of World War One. They were going through a depression as well. Even though they're involved in establishing the Treaty of Versailles, right, with the Big Four, Did they gain any concessions at the end of World War I? No, they didn't. Why? Chikari?
Because they originally started with Germany.
Yeah, right. They flip-flopped. They jumped on the victor's side towards the end of the war. It's like, oh, these guys are bandwagons here, right? They're jumping on the bandwagon. And they weren't rewarded anything. And Italy was still kind of going through some of their own problems. They weren't united. There's a lot of divide, social divide and economic divide in the country. So Mussolini decided, well, the government that's established here in Italy right now, not very good. Okay, it's not helping or benefiting the people out at the end of World War I. So he leads a group, strong nationalists, okay, the black shirts, and marched on to Rome. Right? And he was trying to inspire the people and try to motivate the people. This is exactly what I want to bring back to Italy, right? He wants to bring back the glory of the Roman Empire and what they had established for thousands of years, it seemed, in the ancient times. And he promised the people jobs, promised the people a stronger military, expansion, right? Claiming some of these territories and lands that they may have lost at the end of World War I. So Mussolini promised to the people jobs, prosperous times, and a strong military. And was there anybody to stop him? No. The League of Nations, right? They were too weak. France and Great Britain didn't have the ability, didn't have the manpower, the military to stop this rise in Europe. So we can start with those two powers first because they gain power first. Stalin comes in around mid to early 1920s along with Mussolini. One's fascist, right? And one's communist. Okay, is there any questions? And this is already testing that League of Nations that was established, that international organization to try to keep peace. Wasn't working too well. Wasn't working too well. And I'm not going to talk about it too much, but Mussolini goes to Africa, claims Ethiopia. He sends his military there and takes it over, right? So, again, imperialism, right? That's another term, another cause to World War I. Here we go again already. Not even a couple of years after World War I, Italy's doing it again, right? So nationalism, militarism, imperialism. Uh-oh, you see all these causes coming back around. Not a good thing, not a good thing. And then obviously we'll see alliances forming. Boy, oh boy, they didn't learn the first time around, right, Chikari?
That's not.
Gonna learn today. That's good. All right, so is there any questions on that bell ringer? You guys good? I'm going to come around and check them right now. For those at home, just attach them to the post. You'll see that announcement there. So have those ready to go, and we'll move on with Hitler today. I'll give you some time to work on your questions. All right, good job. Nice. Good. Ethan? Work. Yeah. Like your sweater slash jacket. Healthy. Good. Good. Devin, how we doing, buddy? Well. Sorry. Good. Good work. I like your spectrum. Pretty good. Put it on the phone. How's the iPad dead again? Dude, charge it up at night.
You go on flip mine.
Oh, charge.
Do you need a charger? All righty, moving on here. Moving on. Got quite a bit to talk about with Hitler. Quite a bit to talk about. There we go. All right, so there's going to be some information that I'd like you to write down here as we move through it. There's a lot of things to talk about and go over. All right, so Hitler, the bottom part here, So where did we leave off with Germany? Where did we leave off with Germany here? Well, I meant with the Depression. Okay, I kind of gave it away, right? So they went through that Depression. Was there any trust with the Weimar Republic? Did anybody support it in Germany? No, not really. Not really. Okay. Because they didn't really help anything out at all. If anything, they made things worse. And how they make things worse? What did they do to try to combat against some of the problems with the Depression? What did they do? What did they do, Autumn? Yeah, they printed more money out. They said, oh, this will work. Nope, didn't work at all. And we all know what happened there. People putting money up on their walls because it's cheaper. Walking around with wheelbarrows full of money. It looked a little bit crazy times in Germany. And we know that there's no order. There's no authority to keep people in line. Many extremist values were, wandering around many of these cities like Berlin, okay, like communism, fascism. A lot of these groups were causing anarchy through the streets. And one of these people, Hitler, okay, before he came into power, he actually led a revolt against the Weimar Republic, and he was thrown in jail. Okay, and this was extreme nationalism. This was called a German Workers' Party at the time. And he was thrown into jail for a short period of time because he tried to lead a coup or a revolt against the Weimar Republic. And while he's in jail, he wrote a book. All right, so make sure you guys write this down. So Mein Kampf. There you go, Mein Kampf. That's how. That's it. And that just really means my struggle. My struggle. So he wrote this book, and he detailed in this book exactly what was going on in Germany through this depression, right? What his aims and his goals were for Germany. And a lot of it was to try to bring back this sense of nationalism, the superiority that Germany had at the start of World War I and before that, okay? And he picked out some of these groups that caused this Treaty of Versailles, caused these hard and terrible times in Germany. Right? We all know what the Treaty of Versailles did. I ain't going to beat that up anymore. Okay? But he put blame to certain groups, certain people for this torment that Germany was going through at the end of World War I. And we all know Jews, right? He blamed Jewish people for these problems. He also blamed Slavic people, communists, okay? And how this caused anarchy throughout Germany, which there was a lot of anarchy throughout Germany. And he kind of picked these groups to blame for these problems, which obviously they didn't really have much to do with it. But he tried to write about these situations in Germany and put blame towards a certain people. And he talked about how he's going to bring some sort of glory, national pride back to Germany with building back the military, okay, expanding and claiming the territory that they lost at the end of World War I with the Treaty of Versailles. And he labels a lot of terms that are meaningful that you probably should know. So one of these terms are Volk. And he talked about the Volk a lot. And the Volk really just means higher class, right? Higher class. In a way, meaning Aryan, okay? So Volk, higher class. In a way, it's favored by the people, if that makes sense. So when you ever hear the term Volkswagen, right? The car, you guys all know the Volkswagen, the V-dubs. That just means higher class car, the people's car. So he talked about the Volk, which was these people that are of Aryan race, German culture, right? German citizenship. And he wanted to bring back this glorification to Germany and where the Volk will only live, okay, and where they'll thrive. Then he talked about another group called the Leute. And this was undesirable people. Undesirable. We called them subhuman. Subhuman. Loit, L-O-I-T. Sorry about that. My handwriting's not the best. My bad. The Loit. And he wanted to try to rid them out of Germany. Get them out. Okay, they shouldn't belong here with the Volk, with the higher class. If anything, they're dragging down the Volk. And that's what he described within his book, Mein Kampf, while he was in jail. And we'll talk about Lebensraum more I guess, Monday or Tuesday, and how he's looking to expand. All right, so his time in jail, big thing I want you to know was he wrote Mein Kampf, okay, My Struggle. And he detailed about how he's going to try to bring Germany back to this strong national entity. What's up? Subhuman. Sorry. Chris?
Undesirable.
Undesirable. Sorry.
What's the first word?
Loit. And then up here is Volk. Yeah. All right, you guys go with that? All right, so at the end, after a few years in jail, he comes out, obviously, and he has a new perspective of what should happen in Germany, okay? Rather than just going in guns a-blazing with his group of supporters and taking over government like Mussolini did, okay? This is the same thing. Adolf Hitler's fascist as well. So I just want to detail that. He's fascist. So he's totally against what communism is about. So make sure you note that as well. So after he comes out of jail, rather than leading revolts, rather than leading a group, a mob, take over the government like he tried before and got thrown in jail for, he decided, you know what, I'm going to try to build the popularity of the people. Right? He's going to start leading different types of speeches and discussions and really picking the desires of the people, what the people wanted in Germany. And he did that because he's a great speaker. He could pick apart an audience and really understand what they wanted. And he's very charismatic. Okay, so there's a lot of videos of him kind of spieling out. He's waving his hands back and forth. He's screaming at the top of his lungs. And people enjoyed it. It's like, wow, this man's very enthusiastic. He's very opportunistic. All right, he wanted to make sure that he could really be present for the people and show them the right direction to lead them out of these hard times. So people actually saw this and viewed it and actually gained support of many of the people because he promised jobs. Right? He promised a stronger military. He promised the people that the Treaty of Versailles, which kind of pushed them lower than dirt, would be cast aside and thrown out. All right. So the 1933 election, we're not going to go through that simulation with Arnold Higgins, unfortunately, but he runs for president of Germany against Paul von Hindenburg. Right? And Paul von Hindenburg was a general during World War I. And Hitler loses the election, actually. Okay, Hindenburg actually beats him. The people actually picked Hindenburg over him. But Hindenburg knew that Hitler had a huge following. It was a very close election. So Hindenburg, to try to combat it, try to really gain the masses, the support of the people, he puts Hitler as chancellor. Okay, he has Hitler put as chancellor, which is like the prime minister. Okay, so if you want to write that down, that's fine, chancellor. So Hitler first starts off his political career as chancellor. And then, surprisingly enough, Hindenburg dies within a year. Oh, go figure, right? Something's a little fishy about that. No one really knows how he died, I guess. But maybe there had to be something done with the Nazi Party. Okay, make sure you write that down as well, the Nazi Party. That's in the notes, obviously, with Hitler. So, as Hitler's coming to power, as he's gaining the support, he's chancellor, Hindenburg dies. What do you think Hitler does then? What happens? He becomes the leader, he'll call himself here soon. He does this by really causing a fire to the Capitol building in Germany. So one night, to try to gain the full mass of people, like this is proven that he actually did this for political gain, he started a fire in the Capitol building, which was called the Reichstag. You don't have to worry about that name or that spelling. Okay, he causes a burning to the Reichstag, which is like the German Capitol building. And as this thing's up in flames, as these pictures are being taken, all right, and this is all throughout the media, he puts blame towards the communists. He puts blames toward the Jews that did this. Okay, they're trying to burn down the Capitol building and destroy democracy, right? In Germany. So he decides, because his Capitol buildings burned down and because there's no order in Germany, he makes himself the supreme leader. Der Führer, there you go. So Derfuhrer, calls himself the Der Führer, okay? And that's the supreme leader. So if you want to put beside it, that's what it means, supreme leader. And actually, people thought this was right. It's like, you know what? Yeah, he can lead us through these hard times and these difficult times. We need someone to step up as a dictator in Germany here to try to help us through these problematic times. We're going through a depression. Our Capitol building just burned down. There's anarchy on the streets. And Hitler's promising us jobs. He's promising us order, authority, justice in Germany. And people accepted it, right? People accepted it. Again, through dark times, extremist values are more accepted by the people. And that's kind of what happens, right? That's kind of what happens. And real quick, I'll go about it real quick. Yeah, you can write it down as we go through it. With his leadership, he builds Germany into this dominant power, a wealthy power. He has all these industries and factories promoting the military. So if people are working, they have money, they're spending out the economy, they can go out to restaurants, they can go out and have fun with entertainment. The 1920s that we talked about in America, well, under Hitler's rule in the 1930s, mid-1930s, brought back this prosperous time at first in Germany, okay? So Germany is now becoming a wealthy power, okay, a wealthy country, while the rest of the world is in ruins, right? Italy's becoming stronger as well. They're having more affordability, and the people's standard of living is increasing like Germany. But everywhere else, all around the world, is seeing this depression. Germany now, all of a sudden, under Hitler's rule, is out of this depression. If anything, they're going through like a roaring 20s, I guess you could call it 30s, right, in Germany. They had prosperous times. The standard of living was increased. Everybody had food on their table. Everybody had a car, believe it or not. And his vision was everybody would have every family would have an airplane, which is pretty neat, I guess you could say. He wanted everybody to have an airplane so they could travel and go across the, and explore the world and see it. And that's what his vision was for the German people. And if you're a German citizen at this time, you're going through depression, right? You're having these bread lines, you're going through these different types of soup kitchens to just put food on the table, living in these shanty towns, to all of a sudden having your own house, having a car to drive around, going out to baseball games, right? Watching movies, right? You're going to have full support for your leader. It's going to change real quick. And that's kind of how Hitler in the mid-1930s gained so much popularity. And then in 1936, he holds the Olympic Games in Germany, okay? And this was a spectacle to see. Right? Everywhere you went, there was Nazi flags raining down in Germany, in these larger cities. And he did this because he wanted to show the world what Germany was all about, okay? How prosperous Germany really was, the wealth that was coming through Germany. He built these great stadiums, okay? He had these huge popular buildings, right? These huge, large buildings that were beautifully created, okay? The best architecture is building all these different types of cities and these new different types of public resorts and areas throughout his cities. And as these people coming all across the world for the Olympic Games came to Germany, Berlin, they were amazed. It's like, wait a minute, World War I happened. They're supposed to go, they went through the Treaty of Versailles. They should be in a large lump sum of debt, okay? But rather, they saw this wealthy country, this huge, large city, and they couldn't believe it. Right? How amazing it was for many of these people. They couldn't believe it because they were going through depression at home. So things were looking up for Germany at the time. That's kind of where I'm going to leave off because that's a lot of information there for you. So is there any questions? Is there any questions at all? So you can see how Hitler gained the popularity of people, how wealth was brought back to Germany under his leadership, and how many of these people kind of accepted whatever was presented to them. All right, we'll talk more on Monday with propaganda, the Hitler Youth Organization, how he's going to try to corrupt society and have only one viewpoint for them to look at. And any type of opposition is pushed away. And this will kind of lead up to Kristallnacht and some of these groups of people being targeted in Germany. All right, any questions? You guys good? All right, so I'm going to have this reading posted for you. You have about 11 minutes to work on it, so it shouldn't take you too long to finish. And this just summarizes what we went over the past 2 days. It's like a study tool. So have that done for Monday, and please attach your bell ringers to this announcement.